Hi, very good evening to everybody. My name is Siddarth Padmanabhan. I'm the co-founder and chief business officer at Neowise Technologies. We essentially build and take to market a lot of technology around debt recovery. We work with some leading fintechs, and I'm really happy to be moderating a panel today in line with like a lot of sessions today. I felt like were overarching on, or rather, and rightly so, on regulation. Similarly, when it comes to even debt recovery or collections as a process, it's obviously one of the key areas that end up defining the success of any lending company, be that a fintech, NBFC, or a bank. I have with me today Ajay, who leads risk and collections at Uni. I also have with me Loothra from CRED Saison, who leads their product. And virtually, of course, joining us is Mr. Karthikeyan Ramaswamy, who is Chief Collections Officer at Axio, also leads up their collections as well as their legal team. So thanks firstly for joining me, all three of you. Just like we are the last moderated session for the day, collections or debt recovery often can be the last mile of that entire lending life cycle. And not to say that it's least important or anything, but my first question, and I'll leave it to any three of you to pick this up, is that would it be right to say or assume that collections is the backbone of success for any lending company?
Thanks, Sid. So certainly, collection in case of any lending company is as important as any other vertical, be it a product, be it a customer experience or risk. Collection does play an important role in company in terms of debt recovery, which at the end impacts the company's P&L. So there is an important component of credit loss in P&L, while there is a general view that risk who does manage the P&L or credit loss. Myself being a risk and collection person, I can say that collection plays an equal or even more important role in managing the credit loss. So collection in such a way is a backbone for a lending company, and we have seen many examples, be it any lending banks now, be it a SDFC, be it a Bajaj Finance, whose stories we have heard that their strong collection units have helped them to build the business to this extent. In terms of fintech, it becomes more important, I'll say, because fintech nowadays in the digital onboarding journey, during the entire journey of the customer onboarding or customer life cycle, via fintech, it is via mobile, only touch point is via mobile. So other than mobile, the only touch point that is there between customer and the fintech is collection. Not a good one, but still that is collection. So collection then also becomes an important backbone to pass on the feedback from the customer to be a product or to be a risk. So that's how there are other advantage. There are additional advantage in case of fintech lending from the collection point of view.
Thanks, Ajay. I think very well on point. I'll use a cliche here. It's very easy to lend out money, but very, very hard to get it back, right? So collections, I feel, is definitely the backbone of any good lending business. Now, of course, as product managers, as business folks, we all understand that getting business distribution is very, very important. But without the backing of a very strong collections process, and by very strong I mean, first of all, preventing people from even going into collections. So essentially pre-bounce, all of those scenarios, and then from actually cutting the clutter for the actual collections folks. These gentlemen very ably manage. So essentially, this is where I feel the product engineering org sort of helps and becomes a partner to these gentlemen in order to manage this. And without an interplay between these two functions and also a function which is overarching amongst the two, which is like a sort of like a decisioning layer or a machine learning sort of a decisioning rule engine layer, it is impossible to scale a business in India in this day and age. Right.
Absolutely. And Karthikeyan, any thoughts?
Oh yeah, of course, mostly covered by both the gentlemen correctly. And I would, of course, echo the same thought as well, right? So, yes, as this session is termed for the last in this forum, right? Similarly, collections also come in when at the last in the funnel of lending. Of course, as a lending, not only fintech for that matter, as a lending entity, there are two most important things that the lending entity needs to know, right? One, how to lend money, two, how to collect money, of course. In that way, it is important, and there is a very a clear intertwine between risk and collections, which basically plays a critical part in how profitable that entity would be over a period of time.
Thank you for that. Your answer brings me to my next question, which is we've got different. I mean, all of you in your own roles contribute towards collections. Ajay, more from a risk perspective, collections operations. Love, you look at product for collections, and Karthikeyan, of course, looks at collections as well as legal. Now, we've always traditionally, like if you think of the big banks and NBFCs collecting money, by the time a loan goes to the collections team, they will probably say that this was poor credit assessment on behalf of the underwriting or risk team. Or the underwriting team may turn back to say that, hey, we underwrote that customer perfectly, but for whatever reason, the collections team isn't able to pick this up. So I'm sure you guys have also through your careers, maybe not in your current organization, seen that conflict somewhere. But do you feel like your organizations or modern day fintechs are able to bridge this gap better, work productively across these different teams you all form a part of?
I would maybe just pick that up.
Yep.
Sorry, Love. Let me do that once. Yeah, so I guess I would rather turn it around saying I think how it's evolved now is it's actually to the benefit of the business. So what's happening now, and especially not only us, but I see that happening in a lot of companies nowadays is a very quick turnaround of information between collections and credit, right? And it's playing for the business now, and that's critical for business, especially in a fintech, is because considering that the products are getting innovative, the products are getting very dynamic. It's very important for the two teams to kind of play together and try and have a very quick turnaround time of being able to pass, as the panel already mentioned, that the only touch point to a customer in a fintech is collections, right? So in that way, we from collections we get a sense of what's not working, a sense of what is something that can be improved in the product, and that kind of plays quickly because today it's kind of something that turns around very quickly and changes are done in the product. So I would rather view this point as a benefit to business now. Yes, there were times, and I could recollect where the two would lock horns, but of late, the way I see it is that the two play together, and it's good for business.
Absolutely. Love.
Echoing some of the same sentiments and adding two thoughts of my own. So, I've been fortunate to be in organizations, and coincidentally, Karthikeyan and I also shared an organization where essentially we work as a unit in order to achieve business objectives. So we are all on OKRs, right? So essentially, the product, risk, collections, we all work together as a joint team to achieve the business outcome, right? Whether it is cost of collection reduction, collections efficiency, or reducing the NPAs, reducing flow rates, whatever it is, right? So that is the first point, which makes it very overall feedback driven, meaning that okay, hey, if collections has a feedback that okay, hey, why did you lend out to this guy, that serves as a feedback both to the risk person as well as the product person that okay, hey, maybe there is something that I can change in the product itself, or rather in the onboarding itself, and the same feedback can actually come to collections as well. That okay, hey, maybe this is some For instance, in marketing or retargeting, these are some of the variables that we are using to reach out to the person, which is proving to be effective in getting them back into the funnel. Collections is a funnel in and of itself, right? So
Yes.
these are the things that can prove very, very effective in getting the person back into a collections funnel and thereby making recoveries easier. So yeah.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that. I have another question that actually, for any collections, compliance, risk person, addresses a very big elephant in the room, which is regulation. And then we've seen RBI come out with very clear regulations around collections, best practices, customer experience. There have been unfortunate incidents across the country for which these regulations may have come into place. And now that they're there, we've all got to, abide by them. There's no doubt about that. But like traditionally, collections has always been known as this bhai-giri business. I'm just going to call a spade a spade. How do you as fintechs, ensure that you're staying on the right side of compliance? You're able to create that customer experience, but at the same time, create that urgency for that loan to be repaid. Could you think of maybe, without spilling your secret sauces, one or two things that you feel moves towards a more compliant direction for all of the fintech world to follow?
So one thing related to compliance, I feel that regulations around collections were always there and
True.
were being followed by banks and lenders in a self-governance mode.
Yep.
But as you mentioned rightly that recently there have been some events and some unethical collection mode by some people, some agencies, and likewise because of that regulators have to again rewrite those same compliance from a collection point of view. One way, even and especially from a fintech point of view, it is good. All the compliance and regulations are for good from a customer point of view as well as from a fintech point of view. Now, there are clearly defined do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
There are clearly defined methods to collect, timelines to collect, ways to collect. So that is helping us in a way to define a line of control for collection people and in a way to drive a compliant collection method. In turn, that is also helping from a customer point of view, the unnecessary harassment that used to happen of the customer by agents. So we are able to control those harassment and give a better experience from a customer point of view. So that is a plus from a recent compliance point of view.
I would like to,
Please.
add to that as well. And good that you brought about this, right? So this is the big elephant in the room that everyone wants to talk about, right? Collection is actually known for, incidents like this, which basically is very disheartening to hear, actually. Having said that, the way I look at it at this point, as we sit, in this gathering, is regulation just for a purpose, and the reason why they exist is something which kind of takes the whole business along. And we at Axio and the fintech as the department that I represent for the fintechs is collection. So how we think about regulations is and overall as an entity is, it's very important for us to kind of think a little ahead of what the current regulation is. And let me give you an example for it. Now, one of the things that we have started doing is post a collection call, we will want to kind of take feedback from our customers and how that meeting was, and that's critical for us considering the fact that even the products are evolving, right? So we are no more like give one product to a customer and be done with it, right? So we would want the customer to come back for more and more products. So it's not just important to wow the customer with your onboarding process, it's also important for you to kind of give them that first class treatment that you would want to give them throughout the process of lending, right? Which starts with the onboarding process, and at some stage, kind of dips into collection. Not necessarily for everyone, but wherever it does, you really want to give them that experience, and that's exactly what we would want to. So, in my mind, we are a little ahead of it. Of course, we need to meet and ensure that we are exactly watertight when it comes to regulations. I think we're a little ahead of that. We really are keeping customer in front and want to do it for them and kind of take it off from our heads that that's the only way to collect. The way to collect is to basically try and explain for what and the reasons why the person needs to be paying on time.
Thank you. Thank you for that, sir. Any thoughts?
Yeah, maybe just Karthikeyan and Ajay are bang on. Just maybe one additional point, just to give an example, right? So the point of harassment that these two gentlemen brought about. So essentially the customers aren't even aware often that if I'm being contacted by the right person, right? And one of the regulations that have come out is that, okay, you will very clearly tell people that these are the agencies or agents that may contact you in case you become delinquent, right? And keep the customers informed, right? It just becomes like at least one level of authentication that, okay, hey, I am being contacted by the right person or the wrong person. So the person can at least know that, okay, if I follow what this person is saying, I'll actually pay the money back to the right people.
Correct.
Because it often happens because these guys are under a lot of stress.
Correct.
That they probably pay to a wrong guy and the lender says, I never got my money back, sorry, I have to still report you as delinquent. So some of these regulations are really, really bang on, but as Karthikeyan also pointed out, that we need to be 1 or 2 steps ahead, perhaps, and in keeping the customer experience front and center, because not only does it have a P&L impact, it has a LTV
Absolutely.
impact as well.
LTV impact.
So yeah.
I think both of you bring up a very, critical point, which is often in that collection cycle, the more vintage that a loan gets, the customer experience goes for a toss. And that is, at least, if nothing, you probably may never get your money back, but also what you're also ensuring is you'll never get that customer back. So I think, yeah, absolutely spot on with that point where collections doesn't only serve for the purpose of, great P&L, but also a great customer experience. Great point. And I think, just in continuation to that, as the scale of a lending operation increases, your loan book size increases. We are seeing some fintechs really, including all of the ones that you all work at, scale at extremely high rates right now. So, in a scenario such as this, how do you really, when it comes to collections, whether it's the calling team or the legal team or the field agents that go out and collect money from customers' doorsteps, how do you all really look at in-house versus outsourcing? I'm sure there are pros and cons to both. Any thoughts that come to mind for in-house versus outsourcing your collections as a lending operation?
I'll take that.
Go ahead.
You rightly said it. In the sense, both play a critical role in, and an organization needs to make that choice for the kind of business that it is in, right? So there is our collection infra, the infra that is built in the country with agencies is built for a certain set of loans. It is not built for the small ticket digitally sourced loans. So,
Correct.
Of course, it's not going to be the same way. There would be, entities that would come up. There are a few that are, really showing promising signs of collections. And there would be some in the future that will come up, which might fill in the agency, gap that you have in digital collections. Having said that, I would like to take this question in a little different form, which is basically, would you like to do collections the traditional way where you go and physically meet customers, or would you like to do digital collections? And if I would have to answer something like that, what I would say is, if I'm going to source loans digitally, I would rather find a way to collect digitally as well. And that not only, kind of gels with the mindset of the customer when the person is trying to take a loan, but also is cost effective for a digital lender like us. So that's critical for us to try and find ways to collect without actually physically meeting customers. And we've made like significant inroads in it thanks to some of the best minds that work with us, right from Love when he was part of our team, plus the newer age teams that work with us, which basically create the right ecosystem for us to be able to collect digitally. Today, just to give you a statistic, around 70% of what we collect is without any human getting involved.
Wow.
And that's significant in my mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and uh, echoing some of the same sentiments, but I'll probably take your first question, which is in-house versus outsource, right? So, in my mind, I mean, the answer is that, okay, hey, we should do enough in-house to ensure that we are not siloizing ourselves as an organization. We are keeping decisions centralized in terms of, okay, what to do when. But at the same time, there is no point. We are in a lending business, that is the primary business.
Correct.
Right. So there is, in my mind, no point in us reinventing the wheel. Right. The day and age when Karthikeyan and I built the system in house, since then to today, we have seen a lot of folks emerge who are doing some really kick-ass stuff in the SaaS space. So the real answer is that you need to figure out what exactly is the best use of your time, and but at the same time keep enough things in-house so that you can protect as a lender and as a regulated entity. You can protect your IP, you can protect your customers' data, which is actually more important, and all of your policies, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, don't reinvent the wheel and build everything which is out there. Explore first and then make the decision.
Thank you, Love.
So as rightly covered by Love and Karthikeyan, that it is good to have in-house capabilities which gives a better control. But one another point from a fintech point of view, that most of these fintechs do come up with great product ideas, and they do like to focus on those more. On the other side, collection is a process heavy and a manpower heavy
Absolutely. Yeah.
capabilities are involved in case of collections. And in such cases, a combined view of operating a collection with in-house controls and outsourced capabilities will work nicely from a fintech point of view. And nowadays, we do see that there are fintechs who are coming into a collection space like one of yours, which will have a similar kind of approach as a lending fintech do have in terms of collection experience and being around the compliance. That will give a more comfort to fintechs to go ahead with a hybrid model from a collection point of view.
Absolutely. I think I agree with you completely, Ajay. So, where there is scale, you will require a very large amount of manpower, and, having everyone on your own payroll may not be the most HRBP supported decision. So, you will go out, you will work with trusted partners, because I think even the partner ecosystem or the agency ecosystem within collections has been evolving over time. There are murmurs that there are certain large banks, for example, top 3 banks in the country. One of them asked one of their largest agencies to cease collections because they're not comfortable sharing data over Excel anymore. Or, they expect that there should be an API integration, or there should be a file transfer protocol to move that customer information to the agency. So tech and product is obviously playing a very important role here. Talking about tech, product playing an important role in the world of debt recovery, any emerging trends or, any general outlook for the collections industry, leveraging technology, any good examples you've seen, anything that you all may be tinkering with or already doing as a company, anything to point out? Kush, maybe you can, Love, maybe you can start with this.
So, yeah, I think quite a lot of stuff happening in the space, and a couple of things which show early promise but are not quite there yet are, for instance, the account aggregator ecosystem.
Correct.
So while it is in very, very nascent stages at this point in time, once it evolves, it gives, and while it has a very good use case already being explored in the PFM space, it has a very good use case already being explored in the underwriting space. The use case in collections is even more phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Because at the start of the journey itself, at the time of onboarding itself, you can explain to the customer that, hey, we will need monitoring consent. And with that monitoring consent, you can, essentially, really, really personalized and predict
Correct.
where this customer is going to maybe miss a payment, or where is his preferred paying pattern coming across more better, so that you can be a bit more efficient with your calling, with your natch presentations and all of that. So this, I feel, is one. And the other one is that as a lot of the fintechs today especially, and REs are also catching up, are collecting a lot of data about the customers, because they are not coming to the app for a loan per se, they are coming over there for a transaction, and loan just becomes like an added facility.
Correct.
So all of this data, I think we are only scratching the surface when it comes to doing a huge amount of behavioral modeling on top of this. And that behavioral modeling then tying up very well with your collection strategies, policies, and your triggers, etc. And then reaching out, that informing when you reach out to the customer and ask them to give the money back, right? So these two, I feel, in my opinion at least, are.
Oh, absolutely. I think infinite potential.
One product that I'm really excited about in collections is to add to what Love was saying, and I'm surprised why Love didn't talk about it. This is his favorite topic. I don't know why he didn't talk about it though. Anyways, this I'm particularly excited about the man-machine collab that I'm seeing currently with the evolution of bots. These bots are a miracle thing for us, and the way they have kind of revolutionized the need to interact with the customer has been phenomenal, and which is one of the reasons why we've been able to kind of reduce human intervention in collections. So and they're like and not just because we want to reduce cost, it's more because you want to consistently communicate the same language to every customer, so the experience the customer gets the moment he misses a payment is exactly the same, and the bot doesn't kind of mince words between customers. It doesn't change tone and manner. It just exactly responds. And of course, intelligent bots which basically can learn from mistakes are just amazing. I'm super excited with this technology and the way this is panning out collections.
Absolutely. I think there is area for integration with AI in almost all aspects of lending and bots, and we're seeing most lenders use voice bots pretty aggressively at different stages of collections, modifying it to understand the user's language and respond in the same language. Similar use cases, so definitely infinite potential. Karthikeyan sir, it's interesting you say that this is one of Love's favorite topics, because before this session, I was just spending 20 minutes telling him how it doesn't work for us. So, and he agreed to everything I said at that point in time. But Ajay, any points you'd like to add?
So one of the immediate use cases, immediate outlook that I do see is, so one thing we need to understand that cases that flows to collection, maximum of them are not intentional defaulter.
True.
There are different use cases and different reasons behind them, be it about understanding of the product, be it about their financial condition, be it about understanding of repayment or method of repayment or mode of repayment. Mm-hmm. We are moving into digital repayments, as Karthikeyan mentioned, that we would like to connect as much as possible digitally.
Correct.
Many of these customers, a significant set of these customers will repay, but they just need a different kind of nudge, different kind of connect via collection team. Now, identification of such customer can be done only by enabling the data, uses of data in terms of collection, and the tech that we build around collection. Tech in terms of right communication to customer at right time and by right method, and data to identify such different set of customers. So those we do see that fintechs are going to use in the immediate future largely to improve their collection, and as Karthikeyan mentioned, that by digitally, and then as a next step by telecalling or by physically. So those are the other outlook in terms of tech and data, and then AI, of course, the voice bot uses and other uses are there.
Would you, just a follow up to your response, Ajay, would you say that we're scratching the surface when it comes to the amount of technology available out there to enable debt recovery? Or do you feel that we've built everything out that we needed?
It's never enough.
It's never enough.
I will
Awesome.
say that,
and
because
I think innovation will keep
that's right.
evolving the products we use, the methods we use to collect effectively.
Yeah, we have innovated towards lending, towards underwriting, towards product, and it's time to do more towards the collection methods.
Awesome. Before I open for questions, collection agents, I'm sure everyone here at some point in your lives has missed a payment accidentally, intentionally, hopefully accidentally, and received a call from someone who's reminding you to make that payment, or please go to the app and close out your overdues. It can often be a very thankless role for the agent. The person on the other side is not really waiting for you to call them and talk about how much they owe you. So I know organizations have been doing a lot to change the way that these agents are looked at, give them that kind of, the way all of us have been fortunate enough in corporate to have great workplaces. I see all large fintech organizations doing the same for people across the board without any kind of bias. But, just to end on a lighter note, do you feel like have you ever had a funny moment, with a customer or a caller that you'd like to call out in the due process of collections that you'd remember?
I think I should pick that up. So, of course, what we do is every time we introduce something, we open it up to a very small user group just to test it before we take it to customers at large. We really don't want them to see it first, right? Of course, the same way as what product does or what everyone does. So we had just introduced bot about 2-3 quarters ago, and the bot was pretty good according to me. So we had opened it up to some of our users, and the users were basically some of our collection staff and some employees of the company. So so the bot company also gives you back those recordings and those keywords for you to kind of interpret and try and make some changes. These are very early days. So there was a call that was particularly played back to me, and this was one of our regional collection managers, a fairly senior employee. The person didn't realize that it was a bot talking to us. It was like, who are you? Who are you from Axio calling me? Which part of the state are you in? I am the RCM of this. The person was on and on. The person didn't. I was on one hand very happy that the bot kind of literally
bot did his job.
But having said that, it was very hilarious to kind of see and hear his reaction.
That's awesome. Hopefully, there'll come a point where a defaulting customer will never be able to tell a bot from a human being, and we'll have more of those instances where they actually feel like paying back because they're prompted. But any chance you all remember any instances offhand?
So generally, from a collection agent's point of view, they do have some horrible experiences generally, or sad experiences. One of the very basic funny experiences that agents do have, and especially who are new to credit, their response is like, oh, we had to repay also this. Your sales guy didn't tell us. No offense to sales guys, but it is generally, it is more about the education thing, and where they say that you only offered us money, you never told us that you repay also. So, yeah.
Hopefully, Uni is not seeing too many of those.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for that, everyone. It was a great chatting with you guys. Some great insights and a lot of fun. I'll just quickly open up to the audience for questions. If any of you have any questions around debt recovery, collections, yes, sir.
Sir, the NPA of the banks, private as well as public sector banks, specifically public sector banks, has been on the increase in the last few years, financial years. But this financial year, that is 22-23, the NPAs have come down for all the banks, irrespective whether it is private or public sector banks, by a few basis points. Does the credit goes to the fintech companies or to the RBI who breathes on the neck or the shoulders of the chairmen of the banks?
I'll allow them to answer the question, but I'm just going to take RBI's side on this.
So,
Sorry, go ahead, please.
So I think it's a combined effort that has been there from the bank side, fintechs, and collection is playing a role on the bank side now. Risk and underwriting methods has changed significantly, as we do see, even for PSU banks and private banks. So with fintech coming into picture, with the new innovations coming into picture in case of underwriting are being now adopted by the PSUs and private bank, that has also played a significant role in controlling the NPAs along with the, as we say, RBI and collections effort.
My second
Thank you
question
for opening the can of worms.
Sir, my second question is that you leave the elephants and catch the flies of NPAs. So what is your answer to that?
Karthikeyan, sir.
Sir, I think you should have faith in the banking system in the country. I think we've withstood pandemic, and it's not about leaving the elephants and catching the flies. There are enough laws that kind of regulate not only banks, NBFCs, but also fintechs. And I think all of us, lending entities, view customers alike and would like to treat them differently. I think that's the reason why we're having debates like this.
Thanks for that, Karthikeyan. I think with that we're on. If we can take one more, absolutely.
Final question, yeah.
Would love to hear your thoughts on the litigation landscape and emerging concepts like online dispute resolution.
We do have a head of legal in the panel here
Thank
today.
you. Thank you for that question. Actually, very interesting question. And it's very relevant and pertinent in this time and era. So we at Axio have taken ODRs and adopted that pretty early. And we've seen some tremendous results. Of course, due credit to the mobile penetration and the internet usage across the country, right? We lend in close to more than 12,000 pin codes in India. It's just not practically possible to put fleet on street, or for that matter, go and contest cases in every nook and corner of the country, right? So one of the and somewhere in between, we've also discussed about the fact that every delinquency is not necessarily a conflict between the lender and the borrower, right? It's more something that's solvable. It's something that can be resolved over a conciliation session. Now earlier, conciliation mediation was just possible in face to face, where we had to engage lawyers and conduct conciliation sessions. For that matter, even arbitrations was just possible face to face. Now, while arbitration continues to be that way, online conciliation and online dispute resolution, which is more like online conciliation, is something that actually is paving path for, and in certain developed economies, it's already something which both the lender and the borrowers are very comfortable doing. So all this requires is we are already in started doing it, but what it requires is it requires a credible organization to be mediating, plus adoption and awareness on this is like it's still not like how we would like it to be, but if we get this going, it is going to take a lot of load off the course, and I can promise that to you.
Thanks for that, Karthikeyan. And with that, we'll close the session. Thank you once again, Love, Ajay and Karthikeyan for joining me. It was an absolute pleasure. Thanks a lot.